success has been figured out, and we all know it's a mindset game. I mean, most of success is just about how we use our psychology. Most of the fears that we actually have are just negative contemplative thoughts that we're rerunning too often. Most of success is just about how we use our psychology. I believe there's a huge difference in the way that successful people and unsuccessful people think. And I believe that success itself is not some big mystery that people haven't figured out before, even though when we are struggling and we're fighting and we're just trying to make it through day by day and get better and better and better, it can feel like this arduous, unknowable process, but success has been figured out. And we all know it's a mindset game. I mean, most of success is just about how we use our psychology. I remember when I was going to start my business, and I really wanted to be good at it. You know, I was trying to become an author and a speaker and do these types of videos and do some online training for people on the topics of motivation and marketing. And all these people were saying, well, Brendon, you may or may not be successful with that. You're, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, it's a weird thing. It's not like there's a trait of successful people. You look across history, and successful people, they're not from a given background. They don't come from a specific economic stature. They're not in a position where, they're one demographic or another demographic. I mean, it's all over. I mean, we've got thousands of collective years of history. People succeed, some people do, some people don't. And I think it more comes down to how do we manage our mind and how do we manage our days? And I think that there's a difference between successful people and unsuccessful people in the way they particularly think about approaching something new. I think unsuccessful people, when they have a big dream and they start thinking about what's going to be required to accomplish that dream, they get very limiting in their beliefs about themselves and what's possible. And specifically, they say three types of things. The first thing they often say is, well, I don't know how to do that. So they stop. They say, I don't have those things. So they stop. Or they say, I don't know, I'm not like those people. I'm not like that. And so they stop. But successful people have a different way. They have the same thing. Everybody dreams. You dream, I dream. Successful people dream. People just starting out. Everybody dreams. Everyone has a vision. Everyone, if they could just take 5 minutes today and think about their lives, we could all come up with ways to improve our lives and reach another level of success, joy, happiness, achievement, contribution, fulfillment, soul. We can all elevate. But the challenge is that the unsuccessful people, they keep stopping when they think of what they currently know, have, or are. But successful people say, well, I want to do that, but I don't know how to do that. But instead of stopping, they say, well then, my job is to go learn that. They take their current limitation and they put it on their agenda as a job to do, as a thing to figure out, a thing to make happen. Instead of saying, well, I don't have that, they say, well, then my job is to go build that. Or I'm not like that. Then they say, well, then my job is to go become more of that. Become that person who could accomplish those things. When I was starting to do online marketing for the first time, and I don't know how much of my story you know, but when I started doing online marketing, I was literally bankrupt. And I went from a place of bankruptcy to the point where I really committed to becoming successful at it. And in 18 months, I made $4.8 million, 4.6 collected. I mean, it was just a huge leap, right, in difference from bankrupt to multimillionaire in the span of 18 months. But what made that breakthrough wasn't that I had new opportunities. It wasn't that I had new technologies. It wasn't like, wow, there's the internet now. Those things were already there. I went from this level of thinking to this level of thinking. I used to say, well, I don't know how to build a web page. So I said, agenda, figure out how to build a web page. And I spent hours and hours and hours at nights, on weekends from my job, figuring out how to do that. And I said, well, I don't have one of those lists. I don't have any subscribers. Nobody knows who I am. So I said, job, go build a list. Go get subscribers. Go add value and content out in the marketplace, and they'll come. I mean, just keep putting stuff out there. And I also didn't say, oh my gosh, well, I have that dream. I can't have that because I'm not like that. Because I wasn't a public speaker. I didn't know how to do video. I wasn't like, well, I'm not one of those video people. Well, I'm not a public speaker. So I said, you know what? I have to go learn that art. I have to go become a better speaker, a better communicator. I have to go become more confident. I have to go become a person capable of doing these things. I have to change myself to get there. I can't wait for circumstances to change so I can have my dream. Then our dreams would never happen. We have to get to the point of maturity in our lives where we say, okay, two things are going to change my life. Something new is going to come into my life and make me lucky and blessed, and maybe I can't count on that forever. And maybe now, instead, I have to consciously design my life and say, okay, now, if I want to change, if I want my dream, something new has to come from me. I'm going to become a better person. I'm going to become a person who is more optimistic, who is more confident, who is more driven. Not because I am that now, but because we can grow. That you can become the type of person who you need to be to achieve your ideal life. You can start today living from your highest ideals, your highest sense of self, your strongest sense of self. You don't need permission. You don't need a guy like me to look at the video camera and say, you have now permission. But if you've been waiting for it, you have permission. It's like at some point in your life, you just say, okay, I have permission to become my best self. And by becoming your best self, you start to achieve your best things. You start to contribute better things. You start to become a better human being. You can do that now, today. So next time you're thinking about a big dream, don't think about the things that, well, I don't know how to do that, and stop. Think, I don't know how. So set it up on your calendar to go learn those things. I don't have that. Then set it up step by step to go build that. I'm not like that. Then set it up step by step to go develop those skill sets and those competencies so you can become that, and ultimately you can achieve that dream. It's there. And that's what people do. They're fearing loss. So part of reorienting our lives is start focusing on the things that, instead of what we're going to lose, of what we're going to gain. Fear gets way too much airplay. You know, I think so many people say, well, people don't take action because they have too much fear, or fear is holding people back. And I think this is so common in our language. It's almost to the point where it's almost comedic. It's ridiculous. It's like, well, what are they fearful of? What are they so scared of? You know, we live in the modern world right now where there's not all these impulsive fears that are driven by a physical reality to be safe. You know, we're not being chased by animals that are trying to kill us often, right? So most of the fears that we actually have are just negative contemplative thoughts that we're rerunning too often. And we're associating so much pain to that, now it becomes convenient. Oh, it's fear. As if some fear is some big, unknowable, scary, awful thing. Well, mostly it's not. Most fear is just bad management of our own mental faculties. It's not an impulsive physical thing generating in our brain, telling us to, fight, flight, or flee, and everyone wants to use that as an excuse. We still have all these, biological psychologists or people running around saying, well, it's just an impulsive thing that people can't understand or be conscious of, right? It's the unconscious fears. It's just wiping us out. It's like, get over it. Neuroscience has shown, like, we have much more powerful capabilities than most of us think that we do. And the reality is, most fear, once you understand what it actually is, and it usually is a contemplative process, and once they understand what it is, then it's like, oh, we can overcome it. Because what is it then? I mean, what is fear? What are we so scared of? What's going to hurt us? What is this thing that we fear is going to bring so much pain in our lives? Ever thought about it? What is it? What is the thing that we're so scared that's going to bring in all this pain to our lives? I remember figuring this out for myself. And when I did, I wasn't so scared anymore. Because sometimes, the things, once you understand them more, they're not so terrifying. Once something becomes knowable, you can develop competency around it. Once you can develop competency around it, then you can develop confidence around it. There's this old thing in psychology we call the competence-confidence loop. The more you understand something, the more confidence you have in that area. Same thing with anything that does happen to impulsively generate some fear in yourself. Well, now once you understand what it is, you can deal with it better. Because what we're all fearing is basically 3 types of pain, 3 areas that we might experience pain in our lives. And once we understand that, we can reorient our mindset around those things and no longer be frustrated or stopped by fear. The first thing that we fear pain in our lives is what I call loss pain. Loss pain is, well, if I change my life or I do this new thing, I'll experience loss. And because I experience loss, I don't want to do it. So I'm scared to try it because I might lose something that I like, I care for, I adore. I might, if I go and make that big change in my life, I might lose my job. I might lose my relationship with my spouse. I might lose my connection with my kids. I might lose a passion. I might lose a benefit, right? I remember when I wanted to go and start my own business, everyone was generating all this fear in me by saying, well, be careful, you know, this is very dangerous, Brendon. You don't want to quit your job and lose all that security you have. What about your 401k, Brendon? You're going to lose your 401k. I mean, all these things we think we're going to fear. And the reality was, part of that was true. As I thought more about the situation, I was concerned. I was fearful that I would lose the security I had that the job provided. I would lose that steady paycheck we all want. I would lose that predictability of my career path. I would lose that nice process of having managers around to kind of coach and consult me into higher levels of performance. I would lose the peer set. I love my coworkers. I lose some of the work that I loved. I would lose that great lunch and cafeteria. You know, it's like you think of all these things you're going to lose, so you don't make the decision to quit. Same thing, like people are going to try and quit smoking, or they're going to try and start a diet. They're fearful that they're going to lose that smoking break that gives them that peace and that comfort and that sense of calmness from breathing in deep, even though they're breathing in death. You know, they're fearful. Oh, well, if I change my diet, I'm going to lose those foods that I love so much. So I'm not going to change. And that's what people do. They're fearing loss. So part of reorienting our lives is start focusing on the things that instead of what we're going to lose, of what we're going to gain. Yeah, I might lose my security for the short term, but over the long term, I might have more freedom. I might gain freedom. I might lose that coaching and that person who's going to develop me in terms of that organizational structure. But over here, I'm going to gain greater challenges. I'm going to grow faster because I'm going to be doing things faster on my own. Oh, you know what? I'm going to lose that 401k. Yeah, but I'm going to make $1 million over here. You know, focusing on those gains. See, what happens in the fearful mind, it starts asking this question, what if? And it follows that phrase with a negative statement. What if this terrible thing happens? What if this terrible thing happens? What if this terrible thing happens? And we generate and we stew within our gut these acids and these fears that literally trick our mind into thinking we can't change. But once you understand loss pain is something you're dealing with, start focusing more on the things that you will gain, and you're getting over a hurdle. The second thing that we fear so much is what I call process pain. Process pain is changing in anything is going to be hard. The process of change itself is hard, let alone what we'll lose. Doing something new is hard. When I went to think about starting my new business, I was terrified. I'm like, it's going to be hard. I don't know how to do those things yet. I don't have any competency in those areas yet. I'm not sure how this will go. I'm gonna have to work 24/7 starting this business. I'm gonna have to work really hard for 3 years. I might not be able to get any support and help. The process is scary, so we don't change. I mean, same thing for that person who thinks of quitting smoking. They're not thinking of the freedom of quitting smoking and living healthier. They're not thinking of being able to breathe and get up the stairs. They're thinking of the process of dealing with quitting the addiction. Pain, guess what? The more you focus on those, the more you obsess about those types of pain, your brain and your body goes, no, don't do that. I don't want to experience that, because we've built and we've been gifted with this incredible contraption here that is unbelievably driven to avoid pain. And when we realize that, then we have to stop suffering in our mind and stewing in our mind about the pain we might experience if we do the very things that would improve our lives. You and I both know what would improve our lives. Why aren't we doing it? Because somewhere there we've probably associated a lot of loss, process, or outcome pain to it. And today might be a great day to sit down and say, what do I really want in my life? Why have I not been progressing faster? And when you start exploring that question of why have I not been progressing faster, you might discover loss, process, and pain at work, and you're going to flip it now and focusing on the gains, the joys, and the positive outcomes. And when you start to do that, you'll find yourself being that joyous master. You'll find yourself getting further ahead in life, and you might just find that life can feel fully charged once again.